Hey guys, welcome back to Modern on a Budget, and tonight we have one of my favorite decks in like all of existence, and it's because of how absolutely dumb the deck is. Bogles is the type of deck that everybody just kind of just forgets about, and then it comes back at a random tournament or at a random event and just sweeps because nobody's ready for it. Every once in a while you run into a deck that just happens to have cards to beat it. For example, Chalice of the Void. But that's not a common card in the metagame right now. So this deck can easily just go in and sweep the competition. This version of the deck, very similar to the actual deck list. My in real life deck is not very different from this one, and I do very well with it. Anyway, we will dive right into it. I'm going to talk to you about what it is planning on doing, what the main cards are in order to achieve that, and then the support for the deck. Now, the main cards of the deck are the namesake of the deck, Boggle. And if I refer to something as a Boggle, it's going to be either Boggle or Glade Cover Scout, because they're the same card. One is a 1-drop 1/1 that can't be targeted by spells or abilities your opponents control, and the other one is a 1-mana 1/1 with hexproof. They're both hexproof. It's the same thing. But you have 8 of those. So the plan of this deck is you're going to be getting down a hexproof creature and putting a bunch of enchantments on it and swinging in. So it's kind of like the plan that we had with our Infect deck, except this is going to be longer term, and it's going to be in my opinion, a stronger, more viable strategy. Infect is still a very good deck, but Bogles is just very resilient. So, the main cards of the deck are obviously the 8 Bogles. Core Spirit Dancer says gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. So if your opponent is not running removal, or you don't think they are, you can probably feel safe to put stuff on this. It's going to get pumped up very quickly, and there are cards that can give it trample, so you'll just go right through your opponent. But it's going to get +2/+2 for each aura attached to it, and then whenever you cast an aura spell, you may draw a card. This is going to allow you to kind of storm out with your deck. As you can see, we are playing mainly 1-drops. Now, next we have our Ethereal Armor. Ethereal Armor gives +1/+1 for each enchantment we control and gives first strike. Very powerful card, one of the best cards in the deck. Griffspoon, it gives us evasion by giving flying, and it can be returned from the graveyard. Hyena Umbra is +1/+1 and first strike, and has Totem Armor. If the enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. Hyena Umbra, and there's another card called Spider Umbra, which I'll hover over right now, which has +1/+1 in reach, and it's the same thing, Totem Armor. If you have 2 Totem Armors on your Boggle and it would die, you only have to remove one of the Totem Armors. Anyway, because it is a replacement effect. Next up is Rancor. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0 and trample, and then it also says if it would be put in a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to your hand. So it's got that graveyard recursion, but it's also what's going to give us trample. Sixth Sense, whenever this creature deals combat damage to player, you may draw a card. There are other cards that do this, but this is probably one of the better ones because there's like Curious Obsession, which isn't in our colors, but it also pumps up your creature, but it requires you to attack every turn. Next up is Spider Umbra. We already went through that. Daybreakronet, 2 mana, enchant creature with an aura attached to it. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, vigilance, first strike, and lifelink. That is a lot of words. Those are a lot of words for one card. and we have 24 enchantments in this deck. If we don't have an enchantment to be able to cast this, then we're probably losing, because we probably kept a hand of like 6 Bogles, which is not a good hand, by the way. Spirit Mantle is a 2-drop, give +1/+1 and protection from creatures. Now this card is very much a, hey, you draw this, you play it on the board, and you win. It's one of those cards. It's very difficult for your opponent to come back unless they really got a head start on you. But this deck is so fast and so low to the ground that you should be able to play it, and should be able to just outright win if you cast it. The reason why it's a 2 of instead of a 4 of is you'll notice the only 2 ofs in the deck that are enchantments are this and Daybreakronet. Daybreakronet it doesn't win on the spot necessarily, but it gives vigilance and lifelink, and quite often your opponent will concede just off of a Daybreakronet because they will not be able to outdamage you. Uro decks will not be able to outdamage you. And if you get the core Spirit Dancer on the battlefield, you'll if they try to kill you with zombies from Field of the Dead, you'll eventually just even out with life total, and then eventually just draw Spirit Mantle and then win the game. But that's the reason why this is a 4 of in the deck and the Spirit Mantle is a 2 of. It's a very good card, but it's situational. Now, the ways we have to interact with our opponent are 2 Path to Exile, and then to give our deck a bit of flexibility, 2 Dromoka's Command. This is an interesting card. Quite often we're going to be using the last mode, which says target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. And if this is paired with Daybreakronet, it's like, okay, now I gain life, and now I attack, and now I gain more life. Then you can put a counter on your dude, you can make an opponent sack an enchantment, or you can prevent all damage target instant sorcery spell would deal this turn. This sometimes comes really in handy. And sometimes you just need that small delay. Anyway, as you noticed, we are completely under 3 mana. Not even our non-permanent spells are over 2 mana. So we're running Lurrus. And that will allow us, if we are made to sacrifice our Bogles, if our core Spirit Dancer dies, we can replay these. We can replay our enchantments from a graveyard. It's very powerful. I actually, in my real life version of the deck, decided to try out. I tried out Mishra's Bauble in the deck, and it was kind of funny. But I have Lurrus and in here just as a way to make the deck even dumber. Now, quickly, I'm going to go over the sideboard. 2 Path to Exile for extra removal. 2 Relic of Progenitus. It's graveyard hate, and yes, you exile your own graveyard, but you're not a graveyard deck. And quite often, your opponent is going to, if you're bringing this in, is going to have more of a graveyard synergy. And so, the reason why I'm having this rather than Soul Guide Lantern is this is a better card. It doesn't synergize with Lurrus as well, but it's just a better card. Spirit Link is whenever enchanted creature, it just gives lifelink. I bring this in against Burn. You already have an amazing Burn matchup, but bringing this in just seals the deal. Gaddock Teague against Tron, and also against Collected Company. It doesn't seem huge, but it shuts off at least just one of their combos. but also shuts off their collected company, so they're not able to cast it. I did want to have 3 of them in here, but I did sacrifice the 3rd so that I could put more money into the mana base, which is really nice. 4 Sunpel Grove, 4 Branched Off Pathway should be way more than you actually need, and it's just beautiful. There are more white cards in the deck than green cards, but I have them even because you need to hit green on that first turn for a Boggle. Anyway, back to the sideboard. Lifelink, Tron, Collected Company, that's about it. And then Gaia's Blessing against Mill, and Wilt, a full 4 of Wilt in the sideboard. It's a 2-drop, and really what you're trying to do here is you're trying to get rid of the Chalice of the Void. If you're going against a Chalice of the Void deck, either it's a Merfolk or it's Prison. If it's Prison, you bring out all 4 of your non-creature spells and non-permanent spells and just bring these in. But also Gaddock Teague stops Chalice if you can get it out before they get Chalice out. But this comes in as a full 4 of, it's just, you need to get rid of Chalice, you need to get rid of Ensnaring Bridge. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little deck tech. This deck is really fun, and it really doesn't interact much with your opponent, but it's just so powerful, so fast, so loaded around that it doesn't need to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about Bogles, or if you liked it, or you have an idea for another deck, please leave it below, and I will read it. Anyway, have a nice night. I should probably go to bed soon. Anyway, see you later.